What is going on in the border? There it is.
Found it.
You're the problem.
It's me. I'm the problem. It's me.
You're your own worst enemy.
I am. Episode 5.
A lot of people can relate to that.
Episode 5, and we're going to talk about the border.
Which border? The China wall.
Northern Chinese wall border. No one borders China from the north.
That's right. They just made the Great Wall of China for no reason.
Yeah.
I don't know. Fucking
for
geography.
Historical purposes. Dude, I used to suck at geography.
I feel like Americans know the least geography about other countries.
What other countries?
Exactly.
And we do. But we do because we have less of them around us.
Yeah, we have too much shit going on
internally for us to give a shit about. Because if you think about it, right, if you're just not even go that far, if you're in Europe, right, if you're any country in Europe, then you have already by like 3-4 countries are just an hour's drive.
Maybe it's just Texans though. Texas
maybe.
History is deep.
Deep in the heart of Texas. Yeah, maybe. The stars at night.
I don't know.
What? Don't. We're going to get shot. Shine big and bright deep in the heart of Texas. Got to know it. Now you know it.
Still.
Now you know it. Anyways, sorry. What were you saying? What's going on the border?
I don't know. Bunch of wetbacks. I guess they're not just wetbacks now.
Yeah, now they're drybacks too. Those are the hard. It's harder to tell with those.
They're not even getting wet.
No, they're being escorted. So it's a little. It's controversial, right? Because we have one side, which is the Texas side of this.
Old Greggy.
Yeah, old Greggy boy. That is very like, what the fuck. We got to stop letting these people in. It's too many. And I agree. It is too many. I give 100 a year is good. Just let 100 of them in.
No, you can't do any because then where do you draw the line?
At 100 a year.
Why 100?
Why?
They're going to be like, no, make it 200.
No. That's... I just won.
You let those 100 people fight for it, then they can vote.
Yeah, there was a comic that said the way we should do it is you get 3 chances to get into the United States, and you got to do like the Ultimate Ninja Warrior challenge across like the Rio Grande and stuff. You get 3 chances, and we make it into like a Netflix show.
It's kind of how
everyone
Florida
gets to watch.
it.
You got to earn the citizenship that way.
With Cubans, Florida, they just if they make it to dry land, they're like, all right, you made it, you get a social.
I could never do that. I'd end up right back in Cuba.
You're not Cuban.
No, I know, but I'd end up right back in Cuba if I were Cuban.
Why?
I don't know. I think I masturbate too much. I'm probably stronger on my right arm. I'd row a little too much and then just accidentally circle right back.
Turn around and then roll with the backstroke. And then you just go in a straight line.
It's the same way. It's a circle, but in a different direction.
Yeah, when you do the half circle, turn around, half circle the other way.
Yeah, but once you're deep enough, it's like when you're in the desert and they're like, you can't tell what direction you're going. It's the same way out in open ocean.
Just do 20 pumps one side, 20 the other.
20 here, 20 on my left, 3 on my right.
You don't even use your left.
That's how much more powerful my right arm is due to masturbation.
The left is just to keep you from sinking. Just 20 normal with your right, flip over, 20 normal on your back. And you get there in no time.
I feel like you would get there. You wouldn't get there. It would just take so long having to like.
I mean, yeah, that's not actually how they get there. They just use boats.
Yeah. Well, there was like that family that they found floating on a door. They were like, how long have you been on this door? They're like, since we left, this was our boat. We got on a door. We're like, oh, it floats. Let's go to America. And they made it. Which only goes to prove that Leonardo DiCaprio's character could have fit on that door. If the Cubans can do it, Rose was just a bitch.
I don't think it was about him not fitting. He could have fit.
I know. It's that, and they say it in the movie, by the way, why he couldn't be on the door. And it blows my mind that it has escaped everybody for decades at this point.
I think they know. They just want to.
Well, he says he gets on, and then he says, "Oh, I can't. We'll still be in the water, because they'll float, but they'll be slightly submerged a little bit, and the water is what's going to kill them." So,
not to mention, he was already like, he was already in the water for a while.
Yeah. Chivalry, stupid.
And just for her to get old and ugly, how would he feel?
Yeah. And then for her to throw the heart of the ocean diamond into the ocean. What a bitch. That's heartless, too, because like she's welcome aboard by this guy who tells her, I have dedicated my entire life to finding this jewel. Spent all my money. Investors are involved. I have flown you and your granddaughter out here, giving you all these accommodations. They sat there. They heard her life story. Well, as it pertained to the Titanic.
This is about the border?
Yeah. Man, we got way off topic. But then she throws the diamond anyways. What a bitch. She knew. Back to the border, though.
But women would have been like, oh,
what?
She did stuff.
Yeah. Oh, she was in love. Stupid. But yeah, it's the border. So there's the whole border. I wouldn't even call it a crisis, but the issue with Texas suing the United States suing Texas, the threat. I mean, I wouldn't even say it's a threat because I don't think Texas is threatening this, but the thought of, because people are going around going, oh, Texas might secede. These are the makings of a civil war. Who cares? It's not going to happen. There's not going to be and if there were a civil war, we're at a point in time where it wouldn't be everyone get in formation. We're marching down to California, and we're going to just stand in line and like, it's not that. If it were a civil war, it's going to be a civil war on paper.
Yeah.
We're not going to start killing each other. For what? Because Texas wants to secede, possibly. I'm not saying that Texas does. I'm just saying that, like, hypothetically, civil war happens. It isn't what people are thinking it's going to be. It isn't marching down, shooting each other in another Gettysburg Address or whatever. It's not going to be any of that. It's just going to be our parents are getting divorced. That's what it's going to be.
They're going to nuke Dallas.
Yeah. We're going to hold up in the Alamo. Do you guys remember last season, like the first 5 episodes, we talked about the Alamo relentlessly for some reason?
I don't.
We're back on it. We're going to hold up in the Alamo.
Yeah, but this time, if they make it to the Alamo, we might as well give up.
Yeah, because they've traversed all of that. Yeah. Yeah, but it's not going to be a big thing.
They made it past all the military installations.
Like, there are a lot of tensions, I think. I think that there are a lot of tensions right now, especially with federalized employees versus Texas employees. Right? Because you have Border Patrol and then Texas's version of a Border Patrol. Because there's that thing I sent you that was like, veterans are manning the border now or whatever. And I think that raises tensions a lot, especially amongst each other. But if shots are never fired, here's the conundrum. And you tell me what you think. If shots are fired at the border between Texans and federal agents, what happens then? Do you think that then leads Texas into a more like, fuck this?
Why would they shoot at each other?
Let's just say, again, it's just hypothetical. And if
in this hypothetical situation, what
is
the reason?
Okay, so so basically what's going on right now, right, is Texans are setting up barbed wire and barricades and so on and so forth. And then in some cases there is even face-to-face kind of tensions of like getting in each other's faces, right? The Border Patrol agent and the Texan agent that are, you're not going to cut this fucking barbed wire. Or like, yes, the fuck I am. I have orders. Well, I have fucking orders, and so on and so forth. And that escalates to the point of they're armed, both of them. What happens when two people are armed? At some point, somebody feels threatened to the point of maybe reaching or touching or gesturing towards their weapon. The other will then draw, and so on and so forth. Shots are fired. Shots are fired. One or both parties are killed, or multiple parties are killed. What happens then? What do you think happens then? Does Texas then kind of dig their feet in more and go, that's the shot now heard around the world? I don't know if you remember that part of history, but that becomes the shot heard around the United States. It's like the federal government fired first. No, Texas fired first. Fuck this. We're seceding because you guys don't respect us. And now you're killing Texans. And, well, you can't secede because we'll fucking federalize the National Guard. And in that instance, I think the federal guard would be like, no, because the National Guard, I think I said federal guard, the National Guard, there's a bunch of Texans.
If they're native from Texas.
I mean,
because you can have the border patrol could be native from Texas.
Yeah, but they are already federal employees, so to speak.
But do they care about that, or do they care about Texas?
We used to have this thing that we would kind of joke about when I was still active duty. It was like if there was ever a civil war and like half the country was divided, left versus right, and the United States government is like, hey, we don't agree with this side. Texas is on that side, or whatever state you're from is on that side that the United States government doesn't agree with. And they're like, we're going to just start bombarding. Do you follow orders, or do you abandon your post to go be with your family and defend where you're from?
To go die with your family?
Yeah, well, to go die with your family, yeah, essentially. But like that's one person, right? And so the mentality process there is like, what happens when you have thousands of service members that are like, dude, we're not going to fucking do that, right? Question of following orders versus morality. So in this case, it's because you made a good point, right?
So why are they bombarding?
That's a hypothetical from fucking a decade ago.
That's what makes it moral or not. Like,
well,
did Texas suddenly start firing on every other state around them? All right, yeah, let's fucking nuke them. They're crazy.
Yeah, but all right, no one's gonna get nuked. We fucking could have nuked North Korea and gotten that shit over with. If we're not doing that, we're not nuking ourselves. But I think in terms of like, if Texas were like, we're seceding, fuck y'all, and shots are fired and this and that and whatnot, you brought up a good thing that a lot of Border Patrol agents and even customs agents could be Texas natives. Do they abandon their job? Because they're going to be forced out of Texas. Texas is going to be like, oh, you can't fucking be in this country.
They're going to be forced out of Texas as a Texas native?
If they're federal employees. Right? How are you going to do federal job on the border if Texas is saying, we're now our own country? You're forced out. You don't have a choice.
And they're enforcing it with the National Guard.
Hypothetically, right? The National Guard refuses to be federalized and stays as the state's military. Yeah. They would be doing that with the National Guard.
And they're like, we don't want any federal employees here.
Well, not that we don't want federal employees. If you quit your fucking job and say, no, I'm loyal to Texas, then yeah, fucking stay here. But there's no point in having federal employees here because the border no longer belongs to the United States if Texas secedes. If Texas is like, we're our own country now, suck my dick, the border between Mexico and Texas no longer belongs to the United States. Mm-hmm. It is solely the property of Texas.
But you still need people to man it.
Yeah.
People you're sending away.
Yeah. Because they're the United States federal government employees. We would no longer be a part of the United States. So Texas.
So the guard is going to.
Texas would probably put the guard down there.
So we got.
Yeah, Texas would probably put the guard, and then Texas would probably start our own border patrol. Like we probably would do that, and it would create jobs for sure in Texas. But we would create our own internal border patrol for our now new, I guess, again, country. Because we were our own country.
I feel like you're overestimating how many guard we have.
How many guard do you think are in Texas?
Not enough to fight the federal government employees and man the border.
That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Is it won't break out into a full-on actual civil war with fighting. I think it's going to be a civil. If it were to become a civil war,
just push
it would be
them
on
out.
paper. Yeah, we don't have to fucking grab them by the ear and you grab a chancla.
You have to disarm them at least.
They'll be pulled out of Texas by the federal government. They're not going to say stand your ground. The federal government's going to be like, hey, all right, everyone out. Texas is going to say, you guys have 2 weeks. Get your shit. Get the fuck out, or whatever version of that. No shots are going to be fired. There's going to be no force used, as in like the National Guardsmen being like,
Texas is just going to
also,
let them take.
I think you're highly overestimating how many border patrol and customs agents we have along the border.
I know, but you're letting them take all the vehicles and equipment.
I mean, if it belongs to them, again, I'm thinking of this in the sense of like the parents are divorcing. Let's divide the shit equally.
When has that happened in wars?
It's not a war. I mean, I know that's what I'm saying. On paper, it's considered a civil war, but it's not an actual war. We're not fucking shooting at each other and dropping bombs. We're not sending fucking drones over each other to like fuck with one another. Like it's not an actual war. Bodies are not being put in the ground. When I brought up the hypothetical of shots are fired, that was just to kind of get the like, do you think that would like send Texas over the top to be like, we're not even going to sit at the table to give you a chance? Because I think what's going to happen is the Biden administration and the federal government in general is going to cave to Texas's demands and their expectations to avoid any separation or any type of retaliation.
The U.S. government that states every time that they won't negotiate. They're going to negotiate.
Yeah, the very same one that says we won't negotiate, but is negotiating with every single other country. Yeah, that exact same is going to. The United States loves to say we don't negotiate, and yet they are the biggest negotiators.
They're just going to.
We have negotiated with every single country that has caused any type of provocation, either to us directly or to allies. Even with terrorists, even though we say here's why we say we don't negotiate with terrorists, because the United States doesn't want to be responsible for paying for the lives of United States citizens that are captured by terrorists. However, if a terrorist organization has something that the United States wants, we will 1,000% negotiate, which we have done multiple times. It happened during the Barack Obama administration, where everybody was giving Barack Obama shit for saying, I can't believe you gave him 5 terrorists.
Anyways, I don't think we would just like let them leave. I feel like if Texas did try and secede, we would close off all the borders. We would try to close off all the borders.
Well, now the entire country's a border.
Exactly. Nobody leaves. Nobody flies in or out until you figure out what's going on.
I can see that. Yeah.
But you don't have enough manpower.
Air traffic
for that.
is grounded. It's easy to ground air traffic.
I know, but everything's chaos now. People are trying to leave the country. People are trying to leave Texas. People are trying to come into Texas. There's not enough people to man that.
Yeah, it would be chaos for a bit there. I think Texas and Texans in general are well-rounded enough in terms of like what the goal is, right? Assuming that it's like we're seceding, the United States government has fucked us up or has, left us hanging high and dry, and they expect they're essentially, we're at the table. The United States government won't stop ordering food, and they're not even going to pay half the bill. They want us to flip the bill. So I think that the Texans in general will be on the same page and will keep their fucking cool and make the transition easier. Well, I do agree that people
they think that they're going to lose.
There's no. I mean, how would we lose?
Yeah, I guess it's all hypothetical. But in my point of view, the government's like, no secede, you stay. Texas is like, no,
we secede. We
like,
go.
All right, well, I kill you. I take Texas back anyways.
With the help of Mexicans that we want out of here. I think maybe It's just a big maybe.
Make it an actual war.
If Texas were to be successful and secede, become its own country, I think the 26 states that support Texas right now, and I made this analogy earlier, the teetering domino. Once that domino falls, I think over the course of the next 10, 15, 20 years, I know it's a very large window, we'll start to see the footprints of other states starting to set their own internal economies up and trade up so that they can secede as well from the United States. I think there's just too much animosity right now between states and the federal government. And it's becoming way more apparent now to the general public, but anybody that pays attention, you can see that there's always these tensions. The United States is too big. It's just too big.
I guess it just comes down to whether people are more loyal to their state or the government.
I think some states are more loyal to the government. I think other states are more loyal to their Texas, for example.
People specifically, like not the state itself.
Like I've seen so many other like podcasts and TikTokers and influencers. They all say this about Texas, and I didn't. It didn't click with me until like very recently, where they're like, Texas is one of the few states that before they say the Pledge of America, they say the Texas Pledge. Growing up in school. So you hear it every day growing up. And it didn't resonate with me until I started to meet other people from other states that were like, that's fucking bananas. That's like cult-like. And so in my opinion, I think Texans are way more loyal to Texas than they are to the federal government. Same thing for other states, right? Like I think Arizonites are probably way more loyal to Arizona than they are to the federal government. I think California is more loyal to the federal government than they are to Californians.
I think there's more reasonable people than there are people who are just fake loyal. They're going to be like, America's like, hey, y'all need to stop that or else we're going to storm into Texas and take it back. Then I'd be like,
that would be a full-on civil war.
I might go to the winning side. My governor's in a wheelchair.
He's fast. Put some fireworks on the back. But so you're telling me if it came down to it, if the United States government was like, we're gonna come into Texas, we're gonna take this bitch back, you would be like, all right, switching sides.
I'd go to Canada or some bullshit. Fuck America. Fuck Texas.
Probably go to California.
Switzerland.
It's interesting. I think we live in an interesting time right now.
Back to the East Coast.
Fuck the East Coast. I would never go back. Y'all's fucking discount shawarma.
What?
Discount shawarma. Cheap shawarma. Cheap Middle Eastern food. Anyways.
That's your problem for going there.
You don't like? I love Middle Eastern food. It's delicious.
But cheap Middle Eastern food.
Well, yeah. I'm not gonna fly to the Middle East every time I want some fucking shawarma.
So
you get what you get. You can. I think that's the general acceptance of just everybody in general is, if it's too far out of my way, then the cheap stuff will do.
And the only reason you're not going to any part of the entire East Coast is because one place in particular had cheap.
That was a joke.
Oh. Could have stopped this way before that.
Well, I misunderstood. I didn't realize you were talking about that. I thought we were talking about just food in general. But yeah, no, I just don't like the East Coast. It's not for me. Don't like it. I've been to a couple places in the East Coast. It's not for me. Just isn't. I prefer the West Coast. California, to be more specific, is my preference.
You prefer that one area in California?
No, I've been to as far from fucking Mexicali in California.
And you liked it there?
Mexicali?
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to live there, but like still, it's all right. Like, it's not. It isn't fucking El Paso. Like, it's better than El Paso. And I've been to Northern California, actual Northern California, not like this is Northern California. We're in Los Angeles. Like, no, that's still Southern California. All of California is beautiful. The weather's perfect, at least for me. I consider it perfect. I prefer to live there. If it was like we gotta up and leave. But in the event of like a cessation and, you know, civil war, be it with guns or on paper, whatever the case, I'll stay here. It's not so much like, oh, I'm the most loyal Texas. I wasn't even born in Texas. So it isn't even like the loyalty to Texas. It's just more so what a cool story that would be. I was in the middle of a civil war. I'd give a Gettysburg address, but like not in Gettysburg. It'd probably be like the San Angelo address, the San Antonio address. No, I would stay here just because it's home. This is where home is. So I guess in that sense, I'm basically saying I have more loyalty to Texas than I do the federal government. Because this is where home is.
I'm saying it's not about loyalty. It's about... Well, I mean, to me, it would be who I think would win. But
yeah, you're going at it from the smart way, from a logical standpoint. I'm looking at it from like the same way. It's like why do these insurgent groups in the Middle East bother fighting us?
Well, they kind of have nowhere else to go.
No, they have everywhere else to go.
With nothing? They already have nothing.
Yeah. What do you got to lose? You got nothing.
You're going to end up with actual nothing.
Grab your fucking chanclas and your full white bata.
Not to mention you'll die before you get there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not all of them. But like, get in your fucking shitty Subaru and fuck off. Right? But no, they have the loyalty to the cause, the loyalty to their belief.
I get them a little bit because like growing up, that was their belief. Like that's how you grew up. You were born literally just to fight.
Well, and they were raised raised to fight, but also raised to like, this is our belief. This is our home, yada yada, whatever the fuck. And we fight for our home. Mm-hmm. Texans are kind of fucking raised the exact same way.
Except for me and you.
Yeah. I think in general, probably veterans in general probably don't see Texas the same as Texans that never served see it. I think because we got out into the world and we met other people and like we have not saying that people from Texas don't, but I think that we just see things a little bit differently from, you know, different aspects and different points of views.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Whereas if you were born in Texas, raised in Texas,
all you've ever known is
Texas, and you're raised with the Texas mentality, right? That every Texan is brought up with, where it's like the Texas pledge is said first. Texas is this. Texas is awesome. Guns, pew pew. Like your mentality is the same almost as those in those insurgency groups that are like, I was raised with this belief, and this is how it should be, and yada yada. Like. And I will fight you, even if I'm on the losing side. I will fight you for my belief. I think that's how most Texans are.
And you're gonna die like they did to the U.S. government.
Yeah, yeah.
It makes sense. Idiots, but it makes sense.
Yeah. It would be cool to have some new currency, though.
There might be people who don't fight and they just either stay or leave just to be with family.
Yeah. Well, it would be terrifying. Any person that tells you being on the losing side isn't terrifying is an idiot or a liar. But if it's the way you say, right? Like the United States government kicks down the door and says, fuck you, Texas. Fuck you, Gregory. We're coming in. We're taking Texas back. That's terrifying to be on that side because I know or at least I believe, and I don't know if you believe the same. I think Texans are so enthralled with the idea of Texas being its own thing, and we're Texans, and we're we all have guns and we'll fight to fucking protect. I think that if the government was like, we're sending troops down
Yeah.
to restore some fucking order,
And they'll fight.
they'll fight. And I think that that's terrifying because, one, it'd be unprecedented. And which sounds stupid because we've had an actual civil war, but that was fucking
Like, yes,
forever ago.
a lot of people have guns.
It's unprecedented in this time, in this day and age, with the types of weapons that we have. It's unprecedented. And I think, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, dude, in Fallujah, right? The Marines were under investigation by the United States government because of how many headshots they got. That they were like, there's no way. They were like, you guys are executing people. That's the only thing that explains the amount of headshots that you are getting here in Fallujah. Turns out they weren't executing anybody. Marines were just fucking dropping bodies and giving lobotomies from 1,000 miles away. Like it was fucking cool. That is terrifying to me to think, what if the government was like, all right, send in the Marines. Send in the Army.
Send in the drone strikes.
Yeah. Even that, just send in the well, would they do drones? I think if it got out of hand to that point, yeah. But I think initially it would be like, we're gonna send troops on the ground to restore some fucking order. That's terrifying to me.
Anybody shoots at them, they lose their house.
100. Yeah. You shoot. It's a full on civil war. I'd be like, we're on the losing side. There's no way. Why couldn't they send the Space Force? Or the not the Air Force. They'll fuck us up too. Why couldn't they send
non-pilot Air Force?
Yeah, why couldn't they send Navy NPs? Why couldn't they send the Navy cops here? That would be an easy fight to win.
Coast Guard on the river. On lakes. This lake is property of the U.S. government.
Get out of Lake Casablanca. It's ours. I think that would be terrifying. And I think that I would still stay through it, but I'd be shitting my pants the entire way.
I mean, yeah, if you don't actively do anything to get yourself killed, you'll be all right. You'll just be back part of the U.S. again eventually.
Eventually. Not. I don't think it would happen in my lifetime. If all of those if these magical series of events happened, cessation, civil war, troops kicking down the door, Texans rising up and fighting back, and yet I think that it would take so long because there's nothing more powerful than an idea. That's how insurgencies work. It's the only way to end an insurgency is to kill everybody. Just not a thing.
But they're also stuck in that belief. Like Texans, reasonable Texans, once they see the first city go down, they're like, maybe we're not gonna win.
We didn't even leave the Alamo.
What?
We didn't even leave the Alamo. We were given a chance. We were told you're outnumbered 200-1. And the Texan spirit was like, we're staying. We're going to die. We're going to take as many of you as we can with us.
That was back then. They had different ideas. It was a big war.
I think it's the same. I think that there are very few. I think that you're being very generous with the idea of
reasonable
Texans.
But you would stay.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't fight.
It would take some doing for me to be like, all right, I'm gonna pick up arms and fight. But just at the gate, no, I wouldn't fight.
And how many people would think like that? They don't have to fight. They don't have to lose. I mean, yeah, they just don't fight. If they just don't fight, they're gonna take it back anyways. And if they do fight, they're gonna die, and then the next city after them is gonna be like, maybe we don't fight.
Maybe we fight harder.
You think people fighting weren't fighting harder?
No. I think if it was like, for example, we lost Dallas. Dallas just went down.
The biggest fucking city?
We lost Dallas.
Holy shit.
You're telling me that you don't think maybe Austin or Houston, shit, even San Antonio. San Antonio would probably be up in fucking arms praying to God that we have another last stand here. But you're telling me that there isn't some Sam Houston, was it Sam Houston? Some Sam Houston ass motherfucker that would rally everybody up and be like, Dallas has fallen. we will fucking riot, like that would fucking try to inspire some other fucking city to be like, you're right. We lost Dallas, but we haven't lost hope, and we haven't lost Texas. We're gonna like. I think that with loss comes way more inspiration
loss.
and hope. Yeah, it does breed more loss. Yeah, but like, I don't think that it's like we lost San Angelo. Everybody give it up. All right, everybody. We like. I think
No, I think it's a chain of events. To start with the closest city to the border. Say
who
like
is the closest Texas city to the border?
I'm gonna just go with El Paso because they have a base.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Do you lose that, and you're like,
Well,
not only did we lose a big city, we lost a military installation. The city after that is gonna be like, we definitely can't take them on
That's
now.
actually a great. I didn't even think of that, by the way. What happens to the military installations? Texas secedes.
They're armed to the teeth. They keep what they can. People who stay take what they can.
Yeah, but if you, right? No, but if you're like, hey, get your fucking troops out of here.
Yeah,
You're not allowed to bring anything in logistically to pull things out. So you can't fly in a fucking C-130, pack your base, pack shit out of the base up and leave. Whatever's here, load it up and go. Whatever you can't take with you stays, is what I think would be
Wait,
likely.
who's saying what?
If Fort Sam Houston, just as an example, Fort Sam Houston, Texas goes, all right, United States government, you got to take your troops out, take your shit out. You are not flying in any aircraft or bringing any vehicles in, to help take any equipment out. Mm-hmm. If you have a Humvee at that base, you load that bitch up. Whatever doesn't fit stays.
And this is assuming the troops even want to leave. If they just want to stay in Texas.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine that there would be troops that are like, fuck this. Desertion. I'll stay in Texas. I can see that being 1,000% that being a thing. But I think that the verbiage essentially would be, you can take what you can fit in your car and go.
Yeah.
That's essentially what the thought process would be. But you're not creating a fucking logistical line to empty out the base. So if you leave the fucking paper clips, those are Texas paper clips now. If you leave a howitzer, that's Texas's fucking howitzer now.
As the U.S., I wouldn't even care. I'd be like, they could keep all of it.
I know, yeah, the U.S. 100% wouldn't care. We didn't care when we pulled out and we left all those fucking aircraft and vehicles and weapons in the, what was it?
However, if you use it against me, I'm going to drone strike it.
Huh? Yeah.
Like, you guys could drone strike us too, but you definitely going to run out before we do.
So where would you go? Texas secedes. The United States is kicking down the door. Where would you go? Because you said you wouldn't fight. You'd pick the winning side. Where would you go?
Not Texas.
Where would you go?
Well, I guess it depends where I still have friends.
Because you have to think also, right? Like 26 states back Texas. If the United States government kicks down the door, do those 26 states who are currently sending aid to Texas to help with the border situation, you'd kind of have to imagine that if the U.S. government pulled a fast one and was like, troops on the ground, martial law, that those 26 states would be like, fuck that, we're back in Texas, we're sending whatever we need to send. And that's for the most part just the Midwest is what the people, some East Coast states here and there. But would you end up going like, I know you said wherever you have friends, but would you end up, let's say wherever you have friends, it's a part of those states that are now being kind of like side-eyed by the government for helping Texas. So that's not an option to go stay with a friend.
I don't think any state would help Texas. Either everybody secedes or nobody secedes.
That's not how that would work. I think we would have a lot of support, especially from red states. Right? Republican states, I think, would be like, yeah, nope. We're helping out Texas. We're securing logistical lines.
And then they die.
That's more than half
These
the
are
country.
smaller states.
That's more than half the country. 26, 27 with Texas. That's 27 states. I mean, granted, Alaska and Hawaii support Texas, so that doesn't really... It's not a lot of support they can fucking send our way. But you know what I mean. Like, that's more than half the country. At some point, you're losing a bunch of military members. At some point.
At some point, that state is just going to not exist.
I think you're thinking in like, I think you're thinking in a video game term of like, we'll just bomb your state. That would never happen. That never happened.
You would never let them send supplies either.
No, I mean, I agree, but we wouldn't be bombing supply routes or logistical lines, right? We wouldn't be doing IPB on the United States. I mean, we have done it and they're made. I've done them, but like, it just wouldn't be a thing. I don't think it would be a thing.
Then neither is supplies.
If we're not bombing other fucking countries into oblivion, we're not going to bomb our own over a civil war.
We're not bombing them into oblivion.
Yeah, but if you're like,
you're just stopping the supply
this state
run.
will cease to exist. I mean, it's like,
okay, the supply
stopping
runs.
supply lines I can see, but like, how do you stop a supply line? What do you just close off the state? How many troops do we have that we can close off 27 states?
More than the tiny states' fucking National Guard or civilians that they have.
Okay, so we close off supply lines to let's not go that far. Let's just say Texas. Let's just keep it in Texas. We're going to prevent Texas from having any supply lines. How do you do it? Because we have access to the ocean. We have access to the Rio Grande. We have access to the sky. What are you going to do? Shoot down my aircraft? You're gonna wall off all of Texas with troops.
Where are you getting these ships and planes from?
What do we have those here in Texas, right? We have ships.
And we're just going to let you use them?
How are you going to stop us?
How are you going to get out?
What do you mean? How?
As soon as Texas secedes, they're going to get bordered.
But that's what I'm saying. Is you're saying none of these other states are going to, like, the United States government is going to stop supply lines. How? Where's the manpower to stop supply lines from over half of the country?
A singular plane and a tiny bomb.
That's what I'm saying. We're not going to bomb. They would never bomb anybody.
Bomb the road.
Oh, okay. Bomb the. Okay.
But really, fuck them. Fuck the people. I talked into the wrong person. Fuck them. That's the only way they're gonna learn.
I think that wouldn't happen. I think it's great in theory, and that is how it would work in any other country. Bomb the roads. We're going to secure the airspace. We'll shoot down your aircraft. This is unauthorized airspace. I think if there was a fucking 747 that's been retrograded to fucking pass supplies between states, I don't think the United States government would be like, we're going to send up some Raptors. I think that United States citizens.
No, we're just going to blow up the airfield, the airports.
Yeah. But like,
you're going to get shit by just the same way the cartel does, but you're going to run out.
Yeah. That's true. Very, very true. I think that United States citizens that are military members would have a problem with dropping ordnance or rounds
on asphalt
on United States soil. Even if we're in a civil war, we're seceding. I think that it's like, if I was a pilot and they're like, go bomb this airport in Texas, I would not feel comfortable doing it. Like, to the point where I wouldn't want to do it, and I might not even do it.
Then they wouldn't have you on that seat to begin with.
Yep, I'm in the military regardless.
Yeah, but they wouldn't tell you to do it.
No, yeah, they would say,
hey,
know squadron, whatever the fuck. They'd say, hey, this squadron is going to go do this.
They're going to be like, hey, this motherfucker has friends in Texas or has a history of being morally correct.
Who in the military doesn't have at least one friend in Texas?
Not the point.
Just saying.
Because then we're 50-50 here, because I would fucking double the fucking load.
Yeah, but you're crazy.
I want to win.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah. Although if I were a pilot, it'd be very war thundery, and I'd be down for that. Like, put me in
taking TikToks up there.
Put me in that B-26. Yeah, taking TikToks. It's fucking.
Hey guys, look at Houston.
Yeah. Oh, Houston's gone. If only they had that little red ring with the with the little life bar.
It's just hard to determine because there's like hypotheticals within the hypothetical.
Mm-hmm. But I'm just in the yeah. in that hypothetical world, I think the United States, not that they let it happen, but there's just their hands are so fucking tied. And you also have to think about global economic impacts here, right? If the United States is having a civil war, the United States economy is crashing. It's gone, which means that the global market is fucked. Then we all have to rely on BRICS, not actual BRICS. BRICS is the name of the currency that China and Russia are making, whatever. It's a whole. I mean, there's a whole slew of things, but I think because of all that, the United States government is not going to let that happen, and they'll cave to whatever Texas is saying, whatever Texas wants. My opinion.
Where would they get with this, assuming they secede?
Where would Texas get with this?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Can you?
They're now their own country.
Yeah.
Not then what?
Then we live in peace. No, then Texas governs its own. We man our own borders. We have the infrastructure and the internal economy to be our own country.
Maybe. You also have a lot of maybe?
No, maybe. We definitely do.
You're not gonna
Texas has some of the most exports and imports.
Yep, but now they're gonna stop. Or they're going to be like severely taxed, or maybe they just wouldn't even let them.
We would probably get some tariffs for sure. I think that's probably what would happen and that's probably the more likely, right? No troops on the ground, yada, 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 Texas secedes. I think that the United States government would then put a lot of tariffs on Texas and tell the rest of the world, if you trade with Texas, then you lose trade with the United States, who still has a stronger economy than Texas alone. And the rest of the world will not do that. I think essentially it's a chokehold on Texas.
Like you'll survive as Texas.
Yeah.
But you're not going to have a good time.
Yeah, not for long. Plus also our fucking power grid shits out every time it gets a little cold. Like it would be a very rough decade if Texas seceded.
And then they get taken over by Mexico.
Oh, that would blow so much ass.
Oh man.
That would blow all the ass. I do think that the implications are so interesting though when it comes to federal employees and military members. Like that to me is what's so interesting. Like just the fucking like what do you do?
Pick a side.
I mean, I know you pick a side, but like how can you, right? Because we're removing the whole like the United States government's kicking down the door and it's a full on firefight, yada yada. It's just pick a side. Do you want to go back to your country, i.e., Texas, or become stay a United States citizen and just fucking pick a different state that you're going to live in, wherever you're stationed at? That's going to be your new home of record. Like, what do you do, right? Especially if it's like, well, my whole family's in Texas. They don't have the means to especially if you're enlisted, right? Most enlisted men and women come from not necessarily poverty, but they don't come from well-off households. There's it's kind of why they're enlisted.
Not to mention all the fucking illegals.
Yeah, so it's like, do you sit there and go, well, I just don't ever see my family again?
You can take them with you,
and it isn't
if they wanted to go.
If they could, right? Or do you think that the United States government would give service members that option? Hey, we'll allow you to
not just service members, everybody. If you guys want to if you guys have a social security number already and you want to stay a U.S. citizen,
I think that would happen before. Kind of like, okay, I'm back to Fallujah, right? Where it's like we fly over and we drop these leaflets that say you have by this day to get the fuck out of this place. If you're still here after this date, you're considered one of them. Mm-hmm. Kind of the same, right? Before cessation goes through, I think the United States would be like, you guys have X amount of time, 1 week, get your shit and get the fuck out of Texas. Otherwise, you're not allowed into our country, which is the United States.
I mean, you could, but you got to go through this whole process because you're no longer a U.S. citizen.
How many people?
It's basically like getting a citizenship from another country right now.
Yeah. Get your passports. Get your passports. Yeah, I just they're just.
I do need a passport though. That's just not.
I do need one also, but I think that there's just so many aspects and implications here that are like completely overlooked by all these other podcasts and TikTokers and YouTubers that are like, they don't view it that way. They view it as like, it's civil war. It's they're seceding and they're gonna be in their own country, boy. Like, but they're not looking at the things that are like, what happens to the service members? What happens to federal employees? The families of those employees and those service members.
Yeah, you're gonna lose all these benefits if you stay in Texas.
Or do you gain? Like, do you gain stuff? Right. I feel like people would move to Texas. I feel like a lot of people
They could, yeah.
would then, I guess, emigrate. Technically,
Move.
They would move to Texas because then at that point it's like, well, there's no federal taxes. It's already no state tax.
Well, they're probably gonna have to add a state tax.
I think that would stay that way.
No state tax?
I think there would still be no state tax, at least for a while. For a long while.
You gotta know what's gonna come.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. But I think I think a lot of people would be like, no state tax, no federal tax. I'm moving there.
Yeah.
Like, I think we would have a lot of people moving in. Texas, which is already a very conservative state, without the fucking big hand of the United States federal government, would become even more conservative. And I think that that's very attractive to a lot of conservative people, right? Like, because who's going to stop it? Who's going to stop the Texas government from being like, fucking put the Bible back in school? Fuck it, like, you know what I mean? Like the conservative mindset of like, of like really fucking putting the pressure on the people. And Texans in general are very conservative people. I guarantee you they outlaw gay marriage within the first 5 years. Guaranteed. Like, I think that becomes so attractive to people outside of Texas and very unattractive to people in Texas. So it would be a good switch. But I think it would be like, you guys have X amount of time. If you're in Texas by this time, you're no longer a United States citizen. Which, could they even do that? No, right? Because technically you're still a natural-born U.S. citizen. Even if Texas secedes, you're still a natural-born U.S. citizen.
Yeah, but I think after they close off the borders, it would be like, this type of citizenship is no longer valid. Everybody gets a new one. It'll take a while. But
that's interesting.
If you didn't move before, then you didn't get one.
That's a good point. That's good. It's certainly interesting. So you'd up and leave. If Texas secedes, they give you a week to you'd leave, right?
I mean, I'd weigh out my options.
Because we could still do this podcast if you don't leave. And then if you leave, it's just video. How's it on that side, Chuck? Well, it's not great, let me tell you. Texas isn't doing well.
I'm down to diesel generators.
Yeah. HEB aisle 3 out of toilet paper for good now. We don't even have one ply. Yeah. That would make a very interesting podcast. At least those first couple episodes before Texas goes dark. Just fucking like, oh man, we're all dying out here.
Or we turn into like a North and South Texas. North Texas is still part of the U.S. It'd be funny if South Texas was part of the U.S. and North wasn't.
Just like a sliver connecting you to the U.S. That would be interesting.
The highways are neutral.
Be even more interesting if it was if it was divided east to west, and it was like, but only Southwest is still a part of the United States. So like the part furthest from the United States.
Just the tip.
Just the tip. Just a little.
But I don't know. I don't know what they're planning with letting all these immigrants in.
That part's ridiculous to me. I do agree that that's excessive.
I just don't see where this is going.
I don't see the point.
This is going to create a big problem later.
Yeah. Like, I just don't.
They're taking our jobs.
Yeah. I don't see the point. I don't get it. Texas or not Texas, the United States. Yeah, I get it. Compared to like Mexico and stuff is better, but like, dude, go to Canada. That's better. Just be like, dude, we're passing through. You guys suck. We're not staying here. We're going further up. Direct line us to Canada.
Send them to Iowa.
Because I don't understand, like, the United States sucks. Like, and that's the thing is that nobody likes to say out loud all the time. Like, very few people will. But the United States sucks compared to other countries. And the fucking sentiment is always like, if you don't like it, then leave. No, I like it. I like it, but it could be better.
Yeah, like if I had all this information and I lived in another country, I don't think I would go to America.
If I had kids in a different country, I wouldn't be like, I want to go to America.
Illegally.
Or legally even.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? America? School shootings? That's almost completely an American thing. Does not happen almost anywhere else in the world. That doesn't happen. So if I was a person that wasn't born here and wanted to come here, but I had kids, I'd be like, oh, let's go to Canada, bro. It's close enough. It's still North America.
Yeah, it's a little cold, but it's also a little hot back where we're from, so
Yeah.
you'll be all right.
Yeah. Access to clean water. Dude, you got me there.
You could
Bottled
just
water?
survive on your own.
Bottled water?
Polar bears?
That shit's fucking bananas. Speaking of bananas, they're just in the grocery store. I don't got to climb a tree to get them. I don't know what person or country that guy's from, but yeah. Well, this was interesting. That was only meant to be our intro topic. It took over the whole
Texas
episode.
versus America.
Texas versus America.
Well, I don't know if it'd be America. Texas versus the U.S.
The soon to shortly after become the divided states of America.
The United Cities of Texas.
That would be interesting too, though, if the countries that want or the states that wanted to secede and become their own countries did that.
UST.
Would they then unite and become one country? Because it's almost a straight line from the northern border all the way down with Texas. That would then, because that would be bananas. If it's like, we're our own dick-shaped country now, and now the divided states of America is split between East and West, and you have to fly over our country to get to your East Coast or your West Coast. That would be interesting.
The world may never know.
Or the world will know in the next year or so. Probably within this year.
Stay on the winning side.
Stay on the winning side.
And War Thunder. Make sure to hone in your jet skills on War Thunder.
I really want to hear from our 18 viewers. Kidding. It's far less than that. From anybody that watches this episode. I do want to see in the comments. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm not going to cry over it. But what they think would happen or worries, or if they're active duty, what they would do. Like if you're active duty and you're from Texas and whatever hypothetical you want to pick that we talked about happens, what would you do? Because I can't, especially not being active duty anymore, I don't think that my decision even makes sense.
Do we have a lot of followers on the Facebook page?
Mm-hmm.
What's a lot? Like 6?
7. No,
like
we have a good amount. Yeah.
Is it worth making a poll there?
Yeah. We'll make a poll.
But like super vague. Just if Texas secedes, would you stay or leave?
Yeah, we could do that. We'll do that. So if you made it this far,
I didn't even make it this far.
if you make it this far, on a rewatch maybe, go to the Two Vets Two Mics Facebook page and we'll answer the poll there, and fucking leave it in the comments, whatever works. So, toodles.
Okay, bye.
Bye.